Hello, really, really warm welcome to the London Buddhist Center. Very, very nice to be practicing with you today. My name's Dana Yuta, and I'm here at the Buddhist Center in Bethnal Green. So welcome if you're just joining us. We've got about a 45-minute yoga class today. And the poetic title I've been given for this class is Turning Towards the Light, which I'll say a little bit more about in a moment. And just to say that here in the room with me, I've got Claudia, who is on tech. So it's very, very nice for me to be here with Claudia and with all of you. So if you are watching live, do say hello in the chat box. It'd be very, very nice to hear who is practicing today. I imagine Michelle's probably here. So hello, Michelle. Yeah. And we'll start in a couple of moments. Yeah, good.
13 people.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Claudia's just been saying to me that we've got about 13 of us practicing here today, which is wonderful. Actually, here at the London Buddhist Center, because of social distancing, when we do go back to live classes, which we will, our very, very first live yoga class is this Saturday, we won't even be able to have 13 people practicing in the room. So yeah, it's just really nice to know that all of you are here. So our clock tells us that it's 12 noon now, so I'll just make a start. So you may or may not know this, but today is a new moon day. So a new moon is the opposite of a full moon. It's when the earth completely blocks, it's between the sun and the moon. So if you look in the night sky tonight, if it's clear enough for us to look for the moon, you actually won't see the moon, which I thought was quite interesting because there's a lot of connection between practicing yoga and the moon. And generally, the tradition tells us that if it is a new moon day, you want to do a more gentle yoga practice because any injuries that you get on a new moon and on a full moon are more difficult to heal. So that's what the tradition says. That's what the superstition says. And well, I tend to follow it mainly because that's what my teachers teach. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a kind of quieter, a kind of softer yoga practice. And I thought another sort of metaphor for light is our breath. So the Sanskrit word for breath is prana. So you get practices like pranayama, which is a breathing technique. But prana is also a metaphor for light, and it's also a metaphor for life. So a life force. So often when yoga teachers talk about prana, they're not just talking about breath, but they're also talking about the sense of lightness and also the sense of one's energy, one's life force. So I thought what we could do today is we could start off with a breathing practice. And it's a breathing practice that those of you who practice with me here at the London Buddhist Center will know. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be breathing pathways through our body. Maybe I'll just say one more thing about breathing pathways and then we'll just try it out. So I just wanted to say that these pathways that we're going to imagine breathing from our heart through our body into our fingers. These pathways don't literally exist. In Chinese medicine, you get the concept of meridians. In yoga, you'll get the concept of nadis, these channels that move are going through the body. But these pathways that I'm going to ask you to imagine aren't nadis, or they're not meridians. They're just an imaginative way to connect with a sense of energy and aliveness in our body. So that's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to start. And that's how we're going to focus our attention and our imagination throughout the yoga practice. So when you're ready, do get yourselves onto 2 blocks or a kind of cushion or any props that you might have that can raise your hips a little bit off the ground. And then get yourselves into a position that you can sit comfortably in for a good 3 or 4 minutes. So maybe you might have meditation cushions, you might want to use those. If you find it quite hard to sit cross-legged or to sit kneeling, you might want to try sitting in this way, with your knees up and your feet flat on the floor. And we're going to spend a few minutes breathing and imagining pathways moving through our body. So when you're ready, sitting as upright as you can with a long spine. See if you can encourage your shoulders to be broad and drop down your back. And see if you can connect with your breath. Now you might want to take deliberately longer and slower breaths. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Long, slow inhale. Slow exhale. Now see if you can use your imagination. Breathe in through the heart area and breathe out through your fingertips. So imagine the breath coming in through the heart, around the shoulders, down the arms, and breathe out through your fingertips. Inhaling through the heart area, exhaling through the fingertips, breathing a pathway through the body, in through your heart, around the shoulders, down the arms, out through the fingertips. And one more just like this. In through the heart and out through the fingertips. Now see if you can imagine breathing in through the heart area. This time breathe down the spine, breathe down the legs and out through your toes. So in through the heart area, out through the toes. Breathing in through the heart area. Breathing out through the toes. In through the heart. Out through the toes. Just a couple more like this. Breathing in through the heart area. Down the spine, around the hips and knees. Out through the toes. And then last one, in through the heart. And out through the toes. Now see if you can reverse that. Imagine breathing in through the toes, up the legs, up the spine. Breathing out through the heart. In through the toes. Finding a pathway. Breathing out through the heart. Breathing in through the toes, up the legs. Breathing out through the heart area. Breathing in through the toes. And out through the heart. Now breathe in through the fingertips, up the arms, around the shoulders. Breathing out through the heart area. In through the toes. And out through the heart. Breathing in through the toes, up the arms. Breathing out through the heart. 2 more breaths like this, in through the fingers. Finding a pathway out through the heart. In through the fingers. And out through the heart. Now drop any focus on the path, on the breath, and on breathing. See if you can keep noticing what it's like from your heart to the fingertips, the column of the spine and the legs. Using your senses, using your imagination. Noticing what the body feels like now compared to before the breathing exercise. And then when you're ready, we'll start to move. So opening your eyes, interlacing your fingers, pressing your palms outwards, tucking your head in. Come back to the breath. Imagine breathing space between your shoulder blades on the inhale. And as you exhale, imagine the shoulder blades moving down your back. Inhale, shoulder blades moving apart. Exhale, shoulder blades moving down your back. One more breath like this. Inhale, shoulder blades moving apart. Exhale, shoulder blades moving down. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Reach your arms up. As you breathe out, take a little stretch to the left. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, a little stretch to the right. And inhale, coming back to center. Come into a twist. So pop one hand on the opposite knee. Look round towards the back of the room. And come back to breathing a pathway through the body. So as you breathe in, imagine breathing up through the tailbone, up the spine. Exhaling through the left shoulder. Inhale up the spine. Exhale through the left shoulder. One more breath like this. And inhale, look forwards and releasing other way. So sitting up nice and tall. And again, using the breath to help you get a little bit more out of the twist. So as you imagine breathing in up the spine, sit a little bit taller. As you imagine breathing out through the shoulders, turn round a little bit more. So inhaling up the spine from the tailbone, exhaling right shoulder, inhaling up the spine, exhaling right shoulder. Really, really good. Let's do a deeper sideways bend. So walk your left hand out to the left, right arm comes up and over to join it. And just make sure that your right sit bone stays on the floor, stays on the block. Breathing in, up from the side of the spine, out along the shoulder, along the arms, out through the fingertips. Looking up towards the ceiling as you can, if you can. Seeing if you can use the breath to follow the shape of the posture. In up the sit bone, out through the fingertips. Breathing in, up the sit bone, and breathing out through the fingertips. Let's go the other way. So, right arm walking out to the right, making sure that your left sit bone stays grounded on the block. Looking up towards the ceiling if you can, just to keep the chest facing the front of the room. Breathing in, up the sit bone, along the spine, along the shoulder, along the arm, out through the fingertips. In through the sit bone, out through the fingertips. One more breath like this, inhaling and exhaling. Really, really good. Coming onto your hands and your knees. So coming onto your hands and your knees, let's do a little bit of cat-cow, synchronizing the breath and the movement. So you exhale to lift the spine and tuck the head in. Inhale to arch the spine, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the chin. Exhaling, tucking your chin in, tucking the tailbone in, and inhaling, lifting the tailbone, lifting the chin. Keep going, keep moving with the breath. You exhale and you inhale. Just a couple more. Exhaling and inhaling. Remember to breathe as you move. Okay. And then when you're ready, let's come into downward dog. So first downward dog of the day, again, really being quite careful. So you don't want to torture your hamstrings in the first downward dog. You might just want to bend your knees a little bit, even if you can do downward dog with straight legs. So spreading your fingers, tucking your head in, seeing if you can move your hips away from your hands. And again, coming back to the breath. And this time, see if you can breathe a pathway from your hands to your hips. So you breathe in up the arms, across the shoulders, down the sides of the spine, breathing out through your sit bones. Inhaling, stretching the shoulders, lengthening the spine, breathing out through the sit bones, your hips moving upwards and backwards away from your hands. Just one more breath like this. Okay, and then let's step through into Warrior One. Bring your right foot forwards, left heel comes all the way down. Square your hips towards the short edge of your mat. So if you're doing Warrior One a little bit like this, just make sure you close your hips, reach your arms up. And then particularly as you breathe a pathway through the body in Warrior One, imagine breathing from your back leg all the way up into your left fingertips. So follow the long line of your back leg. Your back leg's long and straight. And then drawing the hip round, lifting the chest, lengthening the arms. So breathing in from your left foot. Imagine breathing out through your left fingertips. Breathing in up the back leg. Breathing out along the arms. One more breath like this. And then let's come into Warrior Two. So hips and shoulders stacked above each other, shoulders over your hips. And looking along your right arm if you can. So turning your palms down to face the ground and just making sure that your hands are at shoulder level. So have a little look at your right hand, have a little look at your left hand, just making sure that your hands are at shoulder level. And then using the breath to stay in the posture, breathe down your shoulders, breathe down your arms into the fingertips. So Warrior Two arms, you're trying to cultivate a sense of space without strain. And as you breathe down the sides of your neck, down along your shoulders, along the arms, and out through the fingertips, that's what you're trying to cultivate. Space without strain. Okay, one more breath here. At the end of the out breath, bend your right knee even more. Left arm comes up and over into a sideways bend. So breathing along the left side of the body, up through the left leg, along the left side of your belly, along your left arm into the fingertips. Parsva Konasana, using the breath in up the left leg, out through the left fingertips. One more breath, just like this. Okay, and then coming all the way up. Good, bring your feet a little bit closer towards each other. We're going to come into Trikonasana. So making sure both legs are straight, right hand comes onto the right shin, just above the ankle if you can, just keeping the legs straight, turning your chest to face the front of the room, lifting your left arm up towards the ceiling. So you try to bring your arms into one straight line as much as possible. And see if you can again breathe in up the legs. Both legs are long and straight. Use the in-breath to lengthen and straighten both legs. And as you breathe out, reaching up with your left fingertips. So include your left fingertips in your awareness. In up the legs are nice and long. Breathing out through your left fingertips. One more breath like this. Okay, very good. Bend your left knee, your right knee slightly, come all the way up. Let's do the same set of postures in reverse. So turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. And then we'll come into Trikonasana first of all. So same sequence, but just in reverse. So left hand onto the left shin, Chest facing the ceiling. See if you can bring your body in alignment with your legs and reach your right fingertips up. Once you're in position, come back to the breath, breathing in up the legs, breathing out through the right fingertips. In up the legs, using the breath to stay with the posture, out through the right fingertips. In up the legs, out through the right fingertips. Let's take another breath here. Okay, bend your left knee, come all the way up. Take your feet a little bit further apart. We're going to come into Parsva Konasana. Bend your left knee quite a lot. Right arm comes up and over. Come back to the breath, breathing in up the right leg. Breathing out along the right fingertips. So just using the breath to create a long line along the right side of the body. And you have a sense that your right fingertips are reaching away from your right foot. So in up the leg, right leg's long and straight, out along the arm, lengthening away. In up the leg, out along the arm, breathing in up the leg. Breathing out along the arm. Very, very good. Come straight into warrior two if you can. Hands at shoulder level. So give your hands a little bit of a check. Right hand, where is it? Left hand, where is it? Very good. And then come back to the breath. And see if you can breathe down along your neck, down along the arms, having a sense of space without strain. Being nice and tall in the torso, strong through the lifting of the core, lifting your lower abdomen up towards the spine, Uddiyana Bandha. 2 more breaths, using the breath to create space without strain in the arms. And then when you're ready, let's come into warrior one. So, swiveling round, squaring your shoulders and your hips to your left leg. Coming back to the sense of your back leg being really long. Breathing in up the back leg, following the little back bend. Seeing if you can breathe out along your left arm, your left fingertips, including your fingertips in your awareness. In up the right leg, up the spine, out along the arm, including your fingertips. In up the right leg, up the spine, out along the arms. Okay, really, really good. Now let's come into downward dog again. So bring your hands down to the floor alongside your left leg. Everyone take a step back into downward dog. Now probably your legs are a little bit warmer in downward dog. So what you might want to do now is breathe from your hands to your heels. Again, finding a pathway through the body as you breathe in. Create space in the spine. And as you breathe out down the backs of the legs, create space in the backs of the legs and ground and straighten your legs. So ground your heels and straighten your legs. In, hands to hips, out, hips to heel. Just take a couple more breaths like this, breathing in, hands to hips. Breathing out, hips to heel. Okay. So what I'd like us to do is just to do a couple more forward bends. So when you're ready, you can step your left foot forwards and come all the way up. So turning around to face me. What you can do is to do these sideways on forward bends. So we're going to come into Prasarita Padottanasana. So see if you can keep your legs straight and bring your hands down onto the floor. And if your hands don't quite touch the floor, either you can use a block or two or any props that you might have handy. Or the other thing you can do is just to take your feet a little bit wider, and that can usually help with straightening your legs. Bring your hands down onto the floor, your hands or the block, your hands are shoulder width apart. And then see if you can draw the crown of your head down towards the ground. Now, as you draw the crown of your head down towards the ground, just make sure that your knees don't start to bend. If they do, don't worry too much. But see if you can have a sense of straightening the legs and lifting the hips and the sit bones up towards the ceiling. Coming back to the breath, can you imagine breathing in up the backs of the legs and breathing out along the spine towards your head? Breathing in up the backs of the legs, straightening the legs, out along the spine, lengthening the spine. Let's take another breath like this. Okay, very good. Hands on the hips. And inhale, coming all the way up. Well done. Just give your knees a little bit of a bend. Relax your hamstrings. We're going to do a forward bending twist now. So you can, again, come into a forward bend. This time, put your hands a little bit forwards of your feet, about 12 inches or so. Again, if you can't quite touch the floor, just use a block. That's totally fine. Now, your right hand's on the floor, aligned with the center of your body. Lift your left shoulder up towards the ceiling, keeping both legs straight if you can, and reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Now, on this side, probably your right knee will want to bend. So pay a little bit of particular attention to your right leg and see if you can continue to straighten the right leg. Can you come back to the breath and imagine a pathway that will help you in the posture? You might want to imagine breathing in up the legs and breathing out along your left arm. In up the legs, straightening the legs, out along your left arm, and just another breath here. All right, let's swap hands. So your left hand comes down. Again, align the left hand with the center of the body. Keep both legs straight, particularly your left leg on this side. Reach your right shoulder up and reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Once you're in position, come back to the breath. Breathe up the legs, up the spine, out along your right arm. Inhaling, straightening both legs. Exhaling, lifting and energizing your right fingertips. Find a pathway from your feet to your fingertips. Okay, very good. Bring your right hand down, hands on the waist. Inhale, come all the way up. Good, bring your feet together. Let's stand in Tadasana for a few moments. So feet together, roughly together. Bring your palms to face the front of the room. Lift the chest. Close your eyes for a moment. And then can you imagine as you breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through the fingertips that your shoulders are traveling down your back and you're spreading. In through the nose, out through the fingertips. In through the nose, out through the fingertips. In through the nose, down the shoulders, down the arms, out through the fingertips. And then let's find a different pathway through the body. So imagine breathing in through the soles of the feet, up the legs, up the spine, and out through the crown of the head. Standing up really tall, in through the feet, out through the crown of the head. Breathing in through the feet, breathing out through the crown of the head. And one more breath like this. Okay, very good. Bend both knees. Bring your feet together if they're not already together. Come into Utkatasana, bending your knees, keeping your knees bent, squeezing the knees together, and lift the chest, look up between your hands. So remember with the Utkatasana position, you do want to, as you get a little bit more proficient in yoga, stack your shoulders over your hips. So if you find that coming into Utkatasana, you tend to drop your shoulders forwards, see if you can start to correct yourself and see if you can have your shoulders a little bit more over your hips. And that requires strength in the core. So see if you can also lift the lower abdomen. And that will help you stop sticking your tailbone out. Lift the chest if you can. Look up between your hands without straining the back of your neck. And just take another breath here in Utkatasana. And then come into a forward bend. This time, take your feet hip width apart and just hang on to your elbows today. So your legs are roughly straight. See if you can imagine breathing up the backs of the legs. And as you breathe out, breathe from your hips to the crown of your head, just encouraging the head to really drop. So finding a pathway for the breath through the body, in through your heels, up the backs of the legs, out through the crown of your head, in through your heels, out through the crown of your head. And just take another breath here. All right, really, really good. Hands on the floor. Everyone take a step back to downward dog. So the last couple of downward dogs that we were in, we breathed from our hands to our heels. I just want to see if what it's like if you breathe from your heels to the hands. So see if you can do that. Imagine breathing in up the backs of the legs, breathing out down the spine towards your hands. In up the backs of the legs, keeping the legs long and straight. As you exhale from hips to hands, so keep lengthening in the spine. Just 2 more breaths like this. In up the backs of the legs, out along the spine, along the arms. In up the backs of the legs, out along the spine, out along the arms. Okay, very good. Come into Chaturanga plank position. Let's take a breath here, really lifting the lower abdomen. Remember, strengthening postures like Chaturanga. You want to keep the spine as long as possible. And to do that, you really need to engage Uddiyana Bandha, lifting from the belly button. And then bending your elbows and coming onto the ground. Let's do a little bit of back bending. Let's come into Cobra. So Bhujangasana, remember that Bhujangasana is not quite like upward dog. You don't have your arms straight. You actually have your arms a little bit bent and your hands are a little bit further forwards than your hips. So bend your elbows, tuck your elbows in. Come back to the breath and see if you can breathe from your heels to the crown of your head. And as you breathe, you want to have a sense that you're not sort of crunching your lower back. So you're not sort of collapsing into the lower back. You're actually actively lifting the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Keep dropping your shoulders away. So try not to let your shoulders creep up towards your ears, drawing your shoulders down and back. And exhale, coming all the way down. Release your hands and wriggle your fingers. Sometimes doing things like Bhujangasana puts a little bit of pressure on our wrists. We might not be quite used to. What we're going to do now is we're going to come into Bhujangasana with a twist. So if you found Bhujangasana too difficult, you might want to just have your elbows on the floor and come into Sphinx. That's quite a good option. Otherwise, bring your hands back to chest level. Maybe slightly closer to your waist, not too close to your hips. Again, lifting up into Bhujangasana, lifting up into Cobra. Now we're going to come into a twist. So come into a twist slowly. So just checking that your elbows are bent and you're tucked in towards the body. Look across your right shoulder towards your right foot. Take 2 breaths here, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Let's go the other way. So inhale, look forwards. Exhale, look along your left shoulder towards your left foot. Inhale here. Exhale here, making sure that your elbows are bent. And exhale here. Very, very good. Inhale, look forwards. Exhale, coming all the way down. Good. All right, when you feel ready, see if you can push yourselves into a child's pose. So sitting back onto your heels. Or if you want to, you can come into downward dog. Now, whether you're in child's pose or you're in downward dog, this time see if you can breathe a little bit more space into your shoulder, into your lower back. So breathing in, lengthening and broadening your shoulder, your lower back. Breathing out, letting the lower back soften. Inhale, space in your lower back. Exhale, lower back softening. Just another breath like this. Okay, coming all the way out of child's pose. So if you're in downward dog, you might just come onto your knees for a moment. What I'd like to do is Parsva Balasana. I'm just going to turn around to show you. You don't have to turn around. But just make sure as you come into child's pose again that your knees are wide apart. So they're wider than hip width apart. Come into child's pose again. And then this time, see if you can place your belly over your right thigh. You're still sitting back on your heels, so belly over the right thigh. Your left sit bone is still in contact with your left heel. Walk your hands a little bit over to the right. And then see if you can find a pathway for the breath along the left side of the body. So from your left hip to your left fingertips. Creating a little bit of space. So this is sideways child's pose, Parsva Balasana. And get this nice stretch along the belly, the shoulder. You might not normally get that in other yoga postures. And then let's go the other way. So remember, belly moves over the left thigh, and just make sure that your right sit bone is sitting as far back on your heel as possible. Walk your hands across to the left a little bit. And then breathe along the right side of the body. So in up the left side of the body, the belly, the hands. Breathing a little bit of space in the right side of the body. Inhale along the hip, along the belly, along the shoulder, down the arm, down the fingertips. Just a couple of slower breaths here. Breathing and making space. Okay, coming back to center. And then coming all the way up. Good. So when you're ready, you can come onto your back. Hug your knees into the chest. I'd like us to do a couple of little hip things. So taking one hand onto each knee, see if you can circle your knees wide and then all the way back together. So circling your knees wide and all the way back together. So I haven't done that many hip stretches. I mean, we did do a few wide leg postures. But what I'd like us to do is to come into Ananda Balasana, happy baby posture in a moment. So when you feel the time is right, you can take your knees as wide apart as they might go, and then catching hold of your ankles or catching hold of the outsides of your feet. Lift your feet up towards the ceiling, but keep your knees bent. And then as you're in Ananda Balasana, as you're in happy baby posture, you might just want to rock a little bit from side to side. So you pull on one leg and then you pull on the other leg. So rocking a little bit from side to side. Remember to breathe. Okay. And then we'll do a different kind of hip stretch. So bring the soles of your feet together, big toe to big toe, little toe to little toe, and heel to heel. Bend your knees a little bit more so that your knees are bent at an acute angle. So it's a little bit like Baddha Konasana position, but lying down. So with Baddha Konasana position, when you're sitting up on the ground doing this position, gravity acts on your knees and gravity sort of like opens up your hips. But when you're lying down, what you need to do is actually be a little bit more active. You use the muscles in your thighs to move your knees away from your shoulders. Still remembering to breathe. See if you can breathe a little bit more space into your hips. See if you can breathe your knees away from your shoulders. Okay, and then bring your knees together. So we'll just do one more thing lying down. When you're ready, you can have your feet flat on the floor. Just make sure that your feet are parallel and slightly wider than hip width apart. As you inhale, see if you can lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll your hips all the way down. So come back to moving with the breath, breathing in to lift your hips up, breathing out to bring your hips all the way down. Inhale to lift your hips all the way up. Exhale to bring your hips all the way down. 3 more breaths like this. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to come all the way down. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to come all the way down. Last one. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to come all the way down. Hug your knees into the chest when you're ready. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll up, do one more posture, and then we're going to settle into breathing practice again. So when you're ready, holding on to the backs of your knees, see if you can rock up to sitting. And we'll do one more little hip posture. So balance on your bottom, catch hold of your ankles or catch hold of the outsides of your feet. And then see if you can lift your feet up a little bit like you were doing happy baby posture, but on your bottom. And then see if you can start to straighten your legs. So if you're like Claudia and you've got really long legs, you might just want to hold on to your ankles. You might find it a little bit easier to straighten your legs. You also need like open hips and long hamstrings. Claudia's really trying his best. Okay, so just take another breath here, using the muscles in your belly to balance. Very good. It's called Upavishta Konasana, and then you can come all the way down. All right, so when you're ready, see if you can settle into meditation position. So onto your 2 blocks again, if you can. Okay, sit upright. We're going to finish with a little bit more breathing practice. So have your hands on your knees, your hands on your thighs. Again, come back to breathing from your heart to your fingertips. So inhale through the heart area. Exhale through the fingertips. Inhaling through the heart. Exhaling through the fingertips. Inhaling through the heart area. Exhaling through the fingertips. Inhaling through the heart area. Exhaling through the fingertips. Just 2 more breaths like this. And then drop the focus on the breath. See if you can keep feeling from your heart area to your fingertips, your heart area to your toes, from your toes to the crown of your head. Turning your attention to any sense of lightness and space in the body, any sense of light force, life force. cherishing any sense of aliveness and stillness. Okay, very, very good. So that's the end of this class. I just have a couple of announcements to make. The first one is I'm going to be teaching a yoga intensive next week. So, these YouTube yoga classes are really, really good. At the same time, I can't watch you practice, and I bet no one's watching you practice. And actually, that's not really how yoga is meant to be taught. That's not really how yoga is meant to be learned. Yoga, you could say, is a kind of like esoteric teaching. You do need people to be watching you, people around you to be sort of giving you feedback. So occasionally, from time to time, we run yoga intensives on YouTube where a couple of us take on teaching yoga twice a day, 7:30 till 9 a.m. and 5:15 till 6:15 in the afternoon, Monday to Friday. So next week, I'm going to be teaching the morning sessions. It's a yoga and meditation session, so there will be meditation as part of it. And Shraddha Gita, who also teaches these YouTube classes, she's going to be doing a restorative session from 5:15 till 6:15. So if you want to get a little bit of feedback on your yoga practice, if you want to have a teacher watching you, do sign up to our yoga intensive. So Claudia's put the link in the chat box. They're really, really good things to do, and they're sort of you really do get a sense of a community of practitioners. You can sort of like snoop around each other's bedrooms or living rooms, and you get sort of a window into each other's life. And I really, really, really enjoy the yoga intensives. And the other thing about it is that they happen every single day. So from Monday to Friday, you get like a real boost to your practice. So that's the first announcement. Sign up to our yoga intensive. The second thing is just to really encourage you to keep giving financially to the Buddhist Center if you can. Last week, I had lunch with Ipolit, who is the finance manager here, and he does a lot of different things, but he also does the Buddhist Center's finances. And here on our LBC site in Bethnal Green, and also our retreat center in Suffolk, on a monthly basis, we're losing about £10,000. Which is quite a lot, it's a lot for anybody to lose £10,000 a month. But also here for the Buddhist Center, it's a lot of money. So we really want to keep reaching out to people with the Dharma. We want to be able to keep providing people with a safe space, a space of refuge. We want to continue to be able to provide consecrated ground for people to practice on. So if you do value the Buddhist Center, I really, really encourage you to keep giving to us. In a class like this, normally pre-pandemic, we sort of make about £70 just doing this class from people's donations. So Claudia's put the donation link in the chat box. So do give to us if you can. It really, really makes a difference. Okay, that's all I've got to say, and I hope I'll see you next week on the intensive, and enjoy the rest of your day and your week. Bye for now.